9 triggers control female attraction. Men, pay attention. Psychology tricks. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength. Loving someone deeply gives you courage. Lao Tzu. You were taught to love her by giving more, proving more, softening your edges, always being available. And every time you did, she seemed to drift. Because the version of love you learned wasn't the spark that stirs her. What draws her in isn't comfort, it's gravity. Not pretty talk, but substance. Not constant devotion, but depth. She doesn't fall for attention alone. She's moved by the man who can shape a room without raising his voice, whose calm holds power, whose boundaries invite respect, whose steadiness commands notice, whose presence lingers long after he's gone. This isn't about playing games. It's about remembering what the world trained you to ignore. A woman isn't compelled by niceness. She's compelled by strength with heart. The 9 ideas ahead aren't tricks or tactics. The 9 ideas ahead aren't tricks or tactics. They're time-tested principles of psychology and presence. Understand them, and you won't chase love. You'll become the kind of man love can overlook. Trigger 1. The weight of silence. Silence, gentlemen, is not a void, it's power in disguise. It's the original psychology trick that predates language itself. Before words, there was presence. Before sound, there was tension. And in the dance between man and woman, silence remains one of the most magnetic forces in female psychology. Don't mistake silence for weakness. It's strategy, control, and mystery wrapped in stillness. When you master the art of quiet confidence, you're not avoiding her, you're letting her imagination do the talking. And believe me, her imagination is far louder than your voice will ever be. In this noisy world of constant texts, endless scrolling, and attention addiction, most men panic at the sound of nothing. They rush to fill the silence, thinking action equals connection. But that's where they lose power. Because in the psychology of attraction, what's scarce becomes valuable. When you stop feeding her with constant validation, she starts to wonder why. When you stop feeding her with constant validation, she starts to wonder why. That wondering is where curiosity is born, and curiosity is the first spark of emotional investment. Be deliberate with your silence. Let her feel the pause. Let her ask herself why your attention suddenly vanished. That's not cruelty, that's magnetic restraint. That's how to fall in love made real, not through chasing, but through commanding space. When you go quiet, she starts a private conversation with herself about you. She replays your words, your expressions, your tone, searching for clues that were never lost, just withheld. And every time she does, you live rent-free in her mind. This is the paradox of attention. Deny it, and it multiplies. Grant it too easily, and it evaporates. You must understand, silence is not absence, it's amplified presence. It's saying more by saying nothing at all. Don't beg for attention, make her earn your noise. Don't explain, let the silence question her. Be the man who doesn't rush to respond because his time, his thoughts, and his emotions have value. That restraint, that calm confidence, speaks volumes in female psychology. It tells her you're not desperate for connection, you're selective with it. And that, my friend, is irresistible. Silence unsettles her in the best possible way. It shakes certainty, creates tension, and tension is the heartbeat of attraction. Every unread message becomes a whisper of mystery. Every pause becomes a pulse of anticipation. That's not manipulation. That's emotional rhythm, the natural pull between pursuit and retreat. So, use silence not as punishment, but as precision. A tool, a test, a way to balance the scales of desire. Because when you speak less, your words carry weight. When you act less, your presence expands. When you understand that silence is not retreat but dominance, you shift from chasing validation to commanding gravity. That's how to fall in love the right way, not by speaking louder, but by standing still while everything around you leans closer. This is not a trick for the weak, but a secret of the wise. Remember, in love and in life, silence isn't empty, it's full of meaning. Learn it, master it, and let it work for you. That is the oldest, sharpest, and most profound of all psychology tricks. Trigger 2. The frame of resistance. Resistance is not rejection. It's the art of standing firm when everything tries to pull you off your axis. Think about it. Every structure that endures the test of time is built on resistance. Steel resists bending. Stone resists erosion. The ocean itself needs the shore to take shape. Without resistance, power dissolves. Without boundaries, chaos wins. And the same truth applies to you, man. A woman will always, always test a man's boundaries. Not because she's cruel and not because she's playing games. She's doing it because deep down, her instincts are searching for something real. She's not looking for perfection. She's looking for a high-value man, someone who can hold his ground when the emotional waves crash against him. Every argument, every subtle jab, every emotional storm she brews, it's all one hidden question. Can I trust you? Are you strong enough to stay true to yourself when everything around you shifts? If you fold just to keep the peace, you lose something vital. Yes, she might smile in the moment. She might even say, "Thank you for backing down." But deep inside, she feels it, the absence of masculine energy. She senses weakness. Respect evaporates where there is no resistance. That is the paradox most men never see. When you stop resisting, you stop existing in her eyes. But make no mistake, resistance isn't about being cold or cruel. It's not about raising your voice or flexing your muscles. True resistance is calm, steady, consistent. It's a quiet, immovable presence that says, "I live by my own law." You don't bend out of fear. You don't yield out of loneliness. You stand because standing is what defines you. Think of a mountain. It doesn't need to prove its height. It doesn't argue with the wind. It simply is. The mountain doesn't move, and because of that, the world must move around it. That's power. That's what it means to project masculine energy, not noise, not control, but gravity. When you hold your frame, you don't push a woman away. You draw her closer. You create tension, that electric pull between your freedom and her curiosity. She feels safe not because you give in, but because you don't. The boundary tells her there's something solid beneath the surface. And women are drawn, magnetically, to solidity. Desire doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in friction. It grows when she meets resistance and feels her emotions bounce back against something unbreakable. So, the next time you feel that storm coming, when she questions your decisions, your calm, your leadership, don't run. Don't panic. Don't explain your worth. Stand. Hold your line. Be the man who can contain chaos without becoming it. Because each time you say no without guilt, each time you stay steady in the middle of emotional turbulence, you are sculpting your presence. You are reminding her and yourself that real strength doesn't need to prove itself. In a world full of men who bend at the first sign of conflict, the man who stands firm becomes rare, mysterious, desired, unforgettable. That's the power of resistance. That's how you attract women, not with charm or lines, but with backbone. Be the mountain. Be the law. Be the frame that holds everything together. If you found this lesson powerful, like the video, share it with a man who needs to hear this, and subscribe for more insights into masculine psychology and attraction. Your engagement helps the message reach more men striving for confidence and inner strength. Comment to remember. My peace is my power. Trigger 3. The axis of indifference. Men, listen carefully. Nothing commands a woman's attraction more than the power of indifference, not apathy, but emotional independence. This is Old Stoic wisdom in motion. A man who stands complete within himself radiates something far greater than charm. He radiates sovereignty. Most men lose their magnetism the instant they seek validation. When she smiles, they beam. When she pulls back, they collapse. Their mood, their confidence, their worth, all tied to her shifting winds. Don't fall into that trap. That is weakness disguised as devotion. That is not love, that is dependency. A man who builds his happiness on someone else's reaction has surrendered his throne. You must remember, indifference is not about being cold. It's about being centered. It's about having an iron mind that doesn't bend to emotional turbulence. You're the sun, not the moon. You shine on your own terms. You create your own light, your own rhythm, your own reality. She feels it. She senses it in your calm tone, your composed presence, your quiet certainty. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's the foundation of Stoicism win, the understanding that control begins and ends with you. A man with indifference does not chase, he attracts. He doesn't react, he decides. He doesn't flinch at silence or rejection. He welcomes them as tests of strength. When she tries to provoke emotion, he remains steady. When she withdraws affection, he remains composed. His peace is untouchable, his focus immovable. That is Old Stoic wisdom at its finest, the discipline of serenity in a world ruled by noise. This is not arrogance. It's mastery. It's the quiet dominance of a man who knows his worth and refuses to negotiate it. Modern life tests this constantly. In a world of instant messages, likes, and endless comparisons, it's easy to lose your access. Don't. Stop measuring your value through screams or attention. That's not power, that's addiction. Real strength is silent. Real confidence doesn't need applause. Build yourself, your body, your craft, your mind, until your presence speaks for itself. Remember the words of Epictetus, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That is Stoicism win, the philosophy of unshakable men who lead their lives with discipline, not emotion. Women are instinctively drawn to men who live by this code. She will test your detachment because it excites her. She will question your calm because it unsettles her. Beneath her doubts lies admiration, because your independence mirrors the strength she craves to feel protected by. You must not waver. You must not chase. Don't let her emotional waves pull you from your center. Keep your stance. Keep your silence. Keep your sovereignty. A man who masters indifference commands not only her respect, but her desire. He becomes the still point in her storm, the rock she cannot move. That is the paradox of attraction. The less you need her, the more she needs you. The less you chase, the faster she turns toward you. Stop orbiting her world. Make her orbit yours. That is how you win with an iron mind, with composure that feels like gravity itself. Every great leader, every unbreakable man, every stoic conqueror understood this truth. From Marcus Aurelius to modern icons who rule their industries, the message is the same. Control yourself and you control the game. Let's be clear, this isn't manipulation. It's alignment. It's the power of self-sufficiency that commands loyalty, love, and admiration. So, men, remember, indifference is your weapon. Independence is your armor. Presence is your power. Don't give your peace away for fleeting attention. Don't let emotions chain you. Live as the sun, radiant, self-contained, undeniable. Let your calm speak louder than your words. Let your silence command respect. That is how a man wins with stoicism, with mastery, with the unbreakable axis of indifference. That is how you rise, how you conquer, how you live with an iron mind. Trigger 4. The shock of unpredictability. Familiarity doesn't just dull attraction, it murders it in cold blood. When a woman can predict every word, every move, every reaction, her curiosity dies a slow, silent death. The human mind stops craving what it already understands, but it becomes obsessed with what it cannot explain. That's where real power lies. You want to know one of the oldest psychology tricks in the book? Mystery is addictive. The moment she can't quite figure you out, her mind starts replaying you like a puzzle she needs to solve. That's not an accident. That's female psychology in motion. Every woman, whether she admits it or not, aches for a man who keeps her emotionally awake. One who makes her pulse spike with surprise. Predictable men are safe, but safe is boring. Safe is invisible. Unpredictable men, on the other hand, are dangerous, but unforgettable. That's the secret of how to fall in love that most men never learn. Desire doesn't come from comfort. It comes from uncertainty. The brain releases its strongest dose of dopamine not in pleasure, but in anticipation. When she doesn't know what's coming next, when you break pattern, when you pause mid-sentence instead of finishing it, when you smile in silence instead of explaining yourself, her emotions light up like fireworks. Her body mistakes that adrenaline for attraction. That, my friend, is science dressed as seduction. But don't get it twisted, unpredictability is not chaos. Chaos is insecurity pretending to be freedom. True unpredictability is precision with purpose. It's not about confusing her, it's about intriguing her. It's not about playing games, it's about playing the rhythm. Think of yourself as a composer. You don't just smash keys on a piano and call it music. You create tension, you let it breathe, then you release it when it matters most. That's how real connection works. Too much routine, and she feels numb. Too much chaos, and she feels unsafe. But that razor-sharp balance between comfort and mystery, that's where fascination lives. When you master this art, you stop being a man she can categorize. You become a story she can't close. You're that unresolved chapter in her mind, the one that keeps her turning the page, wondering what happens next. She might call you mysterious, frustrating, even arrogant, but deep down, she feels alive when she's around you. You become the spark that wakes her up from emotional autopilot. And once you do that, she'll crave that feeling again and again. A man who knows how to trigger emotion through surprise owns the memory that follows. Because emotion carves memory deeper than logic ever could. That's not a random observation, that's pure female psychology. So be deliberate. Be bold. Don't be predictable. Don't be chaotic. Be the lightning strike that turns a quiet sky electric. Control your energy. Command her attention. And most importantly, never let her fully figure you out. Because once she does, the game's over. But if you keep her guessing, if you learn these psychology tricks and understand the real pulse of how to fall in love, you won't just attract her, you'll stay in her mind long after you've walked away. Trigger 5. The irreplaceable scar. Every woman forgets comfort, but she never forgets disruption. Remember that. The mind doesn't cling to peace, it clings to rupture, to the moments that cut deep enough to awaken something real. Those are the moments that shape identity, that whisper, you'll never be the same again. And that's exactly what this trigger is about, not attraction, not charm, not the short-lived thrill of chemistry, but imprint. The scar that stays when everything else fades. You see, a high-value man doesn't chase validation. He creates impact. He doesn't beg to be remembered. He becomes unforgettable. Comfort makes you likable. Disruption makes you legendary. You can be kind, loyal, even selfless, and yes, those things matter. But kindness fades when routine sets in. Loyalty is expected. Safety, though appreciated, eventually turns invisible. What endures, what she will never shake off, is the mark of a man who rattled her world. The man who forced her to look in the mirror and meet herself for the first time. Not through cruelty, but through impact. That is masculine energy at its purest, not dominance, not ego, but the raw power of truth. The kind that exposes what's hidden. The kind that challenges her comfort zone. The kind that makes her feel something she can't label, but can't ignore either. When you carry that energy, when you stand firm in who you are, you don't just attract women, you alter them. You become the mirror that reflects their unspoken desires, their hidden fears, their untamed potential. Think about your own life for a moment. Who carved their name into your memory? The ones who made you comfortable or the ones who cracked you open? Be honest. The people who left marks on your soul weren't necessarily gentle. They were real, raw. They brought chaos wrapped in truth. That's the paradox of emotional gravity. The heart remembers pain sharper than peace. A scar doesn't fade because it becomes part of the body, and emotional scars, once formed, become part of her story. Now understand this clearly. This doesn't mean harm. Don't confuse destruction with depth. A true high-value man never wounds to control. He shakes her to awaken. He doesn't play games with feelings. He commands emotion through authenticity. His strength, his steadiness, his refusal to bend to weakness, that's the mark that lingers. When you live with that kind of presence, when your truth carries weight, when you refuse to dissolve into the noise of the ordinary, you become the scar. You become the man she compares every other to, the one who left an emotional fingerprint on her mind. She may love you. She may hate you. She may curse your name in one breath and whisper it in another. But one thing is certain, she will never forget you. That's the cost and the glory of being a man who carries real masculine energy. Because the man who offers peace is appreciated, but the man who leaves a scar is remembered. And that's how you attract women, not through tricks, but through truth. Be that man. The one who doesn't disappear in her comfort, but who lingers in her memory like fire under her skin. Don't fear the mark you leave, fear being forgettable. Trigger 6. The power of emotional distance. In a world obsessed with instant validation, emotional distance is your secret weapon. It's the silent strength that separates men who lead from men who chase. It's not coldness, it's control. It's not disconnection, it's discipline. A man guided by Old Stoic wisdom knows this truth. Love without boundaries becomes dependency, and dependency destroys desire. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That is emotional distance, mastery over yourself before you ever try to master another. You must learn to feel deeply but act selectively. Don't reveal every emotion. Don't beg for understanding. Don't lose your center just because someone tests your balance. In modern life, where oversharing is a form of weakness disguised as vulnerability, the man with an iron mind stands out. He speaks less, observes more, and moves with purpose. His calm unnerves those addicted to drama. His silence demands attention. His restraint ignites curiosity. Women sense it instantly, the rare energy of a man who cannot be easily swayed, who cannot be emotionally manipulated, who cannot be owned. That is the allure of emotional distance. It's the magnetic calm of a man who carries Old Stoic wisdom in every breath, who embodies the principle of Stoicism win, not by dominating others, but by mastering himself. Let's be clear, emotional distance is not neglect. It's power. It's the quiet command that says, I decide when to engage and when to retreat. It's presence without dependence, passion without possession. The man who practices it isn't cold-hearted, he's strong-hearted. He's aware of his emotions, but he does not drown in them. He feels love, but doesn't lose logic. He listens to his heart, but answers with his mind. That's what it means to live with an iron mind, to stay unmoved when chaos erupts, to keep composure when others collapse. Don't chase validation. Let it chase you. Don't explain your worth. Let your restraint prove it. When a woman realizes she can't fully read you, she's intrigued. When she notices that her words can unbalance you, she feels safe because you radiate stability. You are not unpredictable in action. You are unshakable in essence. That's what women truly crave, the man who can love without losing himself. In today's noisy world, everyone's shouting their feelings, broadcasting their emotions, hoping someone listens. But a real man doesn't shout, he commands silence. He moves like a storm that's calm at the center. As Seneca wrote, he who is brave is free. Emotional distance is that freedom, freedom from neediness, from chaos, from emotional slavery. You must train your mind to resist the impulse to overshare. Learn the art of withholding, of letting mystery breathe. Because what is rare becomes valuable. What is controlled becomes powerful. That's the Stoicism win, not in avoiding emotion, but in mastering it so completely that no one can use it against you. So, men, listen well. Cultivate your emotional distance. Guard it like armor, wear it like a crown. Don't react, respond. Don't explain, demonstrate. Don't chase, attract. Emotional distance doesn't weaken connection, it refines it. It forces respect before affection and admiration before attachment. That's what separates the common from the exceptional. Be the man whose presence commands attention, whose silence speaks louder than words, whose calm becomes contagious. Let the world feel your stillness and wonder what gives you that unshakable strength. The answer lies in Old Stoic wisdom, in the discipline to feel everything and still control everything. In the end, emotional distance isn't about being detached from love, it's about being deeply rooted in yourself. Master it, and you master attraction. Master it, and you master life. Because the man who conquers himself wins all. That is Stoicism win. That is the iron mind. That is victory. If this resonated with you, hit like, drop a comment, and share it with a man who needs to hear this. Subscribe for more psychological insights that sharpen your masculine edge. Comment to remember, emotional distance is not coldness, it's control. Trigger 7. The shadow of mystery. Here's the truth: the opposite of attraction isn't hate, it's certainty. When a woman can predict every word out of your mouth, when she knows your next move before you do, when there's nothing left in you to explore, that's when desire dies. Mystery is oxygen for attraction. It's not about deception or playing mind games. It's about having depth, purpose, and an inner world that no one can fully grasp. That's real female psychology, the invisible pull of curiosity that makes her lean in just a little closer, wanting to understand more, but never quite getting enough. A mysterious man doesn't fake confidence. He doesn't overshare, oversell, or overexplain. He just is. He has a life, a mission, a direction. He's calm in his solitude, sharp in his focus, and completely self-contained. He doesn't need attention, and that's exactly why he gets it. You see, women are naturally wired to be curious. It's one of the oldest psychology tricks in the book. Curiosity fuels desire. When you leave room for her imagination, you give her something to chase, and people value what they chase. That's how to fall in love the smart way, not by flooding her with words, but by letting your silence speak volumes. Don't reveal everything too soon. Don't strip away the suspense. When you do, you drain the emotional charge that makes her heart race. Think about your favorite movie. Would you still watch it if you already knew every twist, every secret, every ending? Of course not. Attraction works the same way. When she senses there's more to discover, she stays hooked. When she senses there's nothing left, she moves on. Be unpredictable. Be a question mark in a world full of exclamation points. That is what keeps her intrigued. That is what makes her wonder, what's he really thinking? And once that question lands in her mind, you've already won half the battle. A mysterious man doesn't pretend to be deep, he is deep. He lives by a code, a rhythm, a purpose that isn't built around winning her approval. He's passionate about something, maybe his work, his art, his personal evolution, and that passion radiates. It's magnetic. It's what makes her see him not just as a man, but as an experience. Remember, mystery isn't about hiding, it's about holding. Holding back just enough that she feels the tension. That tension? That's the spark that keeps attraction alive. Never confuse mystery with distance. You can be emotionally warm and still unpredictable. You can be sincere and still untouchable. Let her feel close, but not complete. Let her see your light, but not the entire fire. Because the moment she feels she owns you, she stops longing for you. Female psychology thrives on contrast, strength wrapped in softness, presence mixed with enigma. Be the man who's both known and unknown. Let your mystery be an invitation, not a barrier. She doesn't need to decode every part of you. She just needs to feel there's more to explore. And that, gentleman, is where psychology tricks meet real authenticity. You don't create mystery, you embody it. You live it by staying grounded in your mission, disciplined in your habits, calm in your silence, and confident in your space. Let her curiosity be your greatest ally. Let her imagination work for you. That's how to fall in love with power, by being the man who keeps her wondering, not wandering. Be that man, and she'll never forget the shadow of your mystery. Trigger 8. The gravity of purpose. Purpose. The word alone carries weight, the kind that bends time, shapes character, and silently commands respect. Purpose is the heaviest force a man can possess. It gives his life structure, his words power, and his presence undeniable depth. A man without purpose? He floats, aimless, reactive, always chasing, always seeking someone else's approval or direction. That's not strength, that's drift. But a man with purpose moves differently. He moves like a planet with its own orbit. Everything and everyone around him adjusts to his gravitational pull. That is the secret most never learn. Real attraction doesn't start with pursuit, it starts with gravity. Women sense this immediately. You don't need to declare your mission or flash your ambitions. They can feel it. It's in your tone when you speak. It's in the discipline of your schedule. It's in the stillness of your decisions. When a man lives for something larger than himself, his energy shifts. He stops chasing validation because his life already has motion and meaning. That's masculine energy in its purest form, steady, directed, powerful. Don't confuse purpose with your paycheck or job title. Those are tools, not truths. Purpose is about meaning. It's about waking up every morning with clarity, knowing why you exist and what you're building. It's about creating something that will outlive your flesh, something that leaves an imprint, even when you're gone. A high-value man doesn't need to announce his dominance. He doesn't need to prove he's alpha. He simply is. Because purpose defines him. His focus, his patience, his refusal to be distracted. These are the marks of a man who has chosen his direction and won't be pulled off course. That quiet confidence? That's what truly attracts women. There's a story told about a mountain climber who spent years scaling the world's most dangerous peaks. When asked why he risked his life for something so unpredictable, he said, "Because the mountain doesn't lie. It shows me who I am." That's purpose. It's not about the summit. It's about the struggle, the becoming, the truth that burns away what's weak. A woman may not fully understand your mission, but she'll feel it every time she's near you. It grounds her, excites her, even terrifies her, because purpose cannot be owned. It can only be witnessed. And deep down, she wants to stand next to that fire, not control it. So don't perform. Don't posture. Be anchored. Be certain. Be the man whose life moves with intention. Because when purpose becomes your center, you stop needing to impress. Your presence alone does the work. You no longer attract through effort. You attract through gravity. That is the essence of masculine power, not noise, not ego, but direction. The man who knows where he's going doesn't chase. He draws in. And remember, every moment you spend disconnected from your purpose, you lose a bit of your pull. Reconnect. Refocus. Reignite that internal compass. Because in a world full of men trying to impress, the one who simply knows will always stand apart. That's what makes a high-value man. That's what makes women look twice, not because you chased them, but because your purpose pulled them in. Trigger 9. The legacy of presence. Presence is not a performance. It is power distilled into stillness. It is the invisible armor of the man who has mastered himself. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. That is the essence of presence, being, not pretending. The world is filled with noise, desperate words, hollow gestures. But a man forged by Old Stoic wisdom understands that strength does not shout. It radiates. His silence speaks louder than speeches. His gaze cuts through distraction. His stillness commands the room because it carries intention, clarity, and self-mastery. Don't confuse presence with arrogance. Arrogance seeks validation. Presence creates its own gravity. It's the difference between a flame that flickers for attention and a steady fire that warms the soul. The man with an iron mind does not seek approval. He already owns it within himself. He embodies Stoicism win, not as a slogan, but as a way of life. He embodies Stoicism win, not as a slogan, but as a way of life. He walks into a room not to impress, but to observe. He listens more than he speaks because he knows that power is in control, not in noise. A woman does not remember his words. She remembers how he made her feel. Safe yet uncertain. Drawn yet challenged. She senses that he is awake to life's rhythm, that he does not chase meaning but commands it. His calm unsettles, his stillness intrigues. That is the paradox of presence. It invites curiosity while setting boundaries. The modern world tries to rush you, distract you, make you react. Don't fall for it. Slow down. Own your breath. Let the storm pass before you move. That's Old Stoic wisdom in motion, patience as power, silence as strategy. Don't compete for attention, attract it by being undeniable. Don't chase validation, embody value. Presence is not earned by tricks or tactics. It's built through consistency, integrity, and a refusal to be shaken. Every challenge you've faced, every scar you carry, every battle you've endured, they are bricks in the fortress of your presence. Wear them with pride. You must understand this truth. The man who controls his emotions controls his destiny. Women feel that. The world feels that. It's why true presence lingers long after you're gone, because energy cannot be faked. Let your actions speak in whispers that thunder. Let your silence carry the weight of certainty. That is Stoicism win. That is the iron mind at work. You are not here to impress. You are here to influence. You are not here to chase. You are here to command. Let life revolve around your purpose. Let every glance, every pause, every step say, I am here, unmovable, untouchable, unshaken. That is the legacy of presence. Not words, not deeds, but the enduring echo of fewer when the world stops to notice. So, men, stand tall. Breathe deep. Master the art of stillness. Remember, in a world addicted to noise, presence is the ultimate rebellion. And the man who lives by old Stoic wisdom, guided by an iron mind, already stands victorious. And that's the truth, brother. When you understand all 9 triggers, you realize they were never about controlling women. They were about mastering yourself. Silence teaches patience. Resistance teaches integrity. Indifference teaches freedom. Unpredictability teaches vitality. The scar teaches impact. Distance teaches composure. Mystery teaches depth. Purpose teaches direction. And presence teaches being. Together, they form the architecture of a man who no longer begs to be chosen because he is the choice. When you embody these principles, you stop chasing validation. You stop proving your worth. You stop fearing loss because you've become irreplaceable. That's real power, not dominance, but self-mastery. Not the man who pleads for affection, but the one who commands respect. Not the man who asks to be remembered, but the one who cannot be forgotten. So my advice to you, simple but true. Work on becoming the man who doesn't need to impress anyone. Because when you master yourself, attraction isn't something you chase, it's something you naturally attract. Thanks for watching, my friend. If this message hit home, take a moment today to reflect, not on others, but on yourself. See you in the next one. Stay grounded, stay sharp, and as always, respect yourself first.